Sunday, the 23rd of August, and this is your national weather forecast for the week ahead. Having a look at the current satellite image, we can see that there's a bit of weather happening over the country this weekend. So we have a low pressure system sitting over WA and into the interior of the country, bringing rain and thunderstorms with it. Down here in the south, you can see this sort of cold air cumulus cloud, which is behind a front that's bringing some cold, wet, and windy weather to Tasmania. Over the southeast, though, there is a high pressure system over there. It's bringing some sunny, settled weather across the weekend. Now, let's have a look at the current weather warnings. This is Sunday, the 23rd. We still have flood warnings up here in northern Victoria, minor and moderate flood warnings, and we have marine wind warnings down in Tassie as that front moves through. Those marine wind warnings last until Monday and intensify down here in the south of the state, and they also extend into South Australia as that cut-off low moves into South Australia. Let's go into the day-by-day breakdown of what's coming ahead this week. Cool. So this is Sunday's daily rainfall accumulation or potential accumulation. This is the cut-off low system that's going to be really driving a lot of the weather that we see this week. It's delivering, 15 to 25 mils in its most intense parts and is associated with some thunderstorm activity across the region. As for Monday, it moves down here into South Australia, bringing those wind warnings and rain across into some of the more populated areas in Adelaide, a potential of 25 to 50 mils there. For Tuesday, it comes into the southeast, falling again 50 to 75 mils up in the ranges, again, where we've seen a lot of flooding. So there is a potential that that flood risk warning comes back again this week for a lot of northern Victoria, and it extends all the way up into southern Queensland. So quite a strong wide extent rain system. And then you can see the next front coming through down here in Western Australia. That arrives on land on Wednesday, while this system mainly moves off into the Tasman, delivering some onshore rainfall though up into the sort of north New South Wales, southern Queensland coastal areas. Thursday, this front starts to move through. The east is now settled under a high, and Friday it starts to move across again. Saturday it weekends, and then Sunday we should be dominated by that high. All right, so that's the rainfall that we're seeing this week. This is the total accumulated fall potentials we're seeing. The yellow here being 25 to 50 mils, and some of these darker patches being 50 to 75 mils. And what we're really seeing is that, especially for the southeast, these rainfall signatures are from a single day of rainfall. Whereas maybe in here, this is a mix of the start of the week and then possibly a little bit from that front associated at the end of next week. After these sorts of rain systems move off though and the high settles in, there's definitely a chance of frost and fog on the way for many regions. Okay, that's it for this week's weather update. We'll go into the seasonal forecast now. Okay, into the seasonal outlook. Now, obviously, not a bunch has changed since last week because seasonal outlooks don't change usually too quickly. So instead, I thought today we'd actually have a little bit of a deeper dive at looking at some charts to sort of understand what rainfall is on the way. This is the 75% chance sort of scenario of what is likely on the way from the Access S2 model, which is the Australian or the Bureau's model. So it's sort of like the very likely or highly likely rainfall that we'll receive in September. Okay, that's what we're looking at here. And to contextualize it, I thought we'd compare it to last week's rainfall. So all you have to do is think about how much rainfall sort of fell at your place last week, and we can kind of compare the numbers today. So start off, let's look at this weekend, the 22nd of August. So in this brighter green, we're talking 25 to 50 mils, which we saw up in this sort of central coastal region of WA, and then as well through this interior bit of Victoria and New South Wales, which is contributing to the flooding here in northern Victoria. And then we have these pockets of 50 to 100 mils up in northwest Tasmania. Now that was just over, Wednesday and Thursday last week, and in little pockets of the interior here as well. So unless you're in this band or this little bit here, the rest is sort of in the 1 to 10 mils. So that's what you experienced last week. Now let's map that to this chart where the 25 to 50 mils is this slightly lighter green. So what we're seeing is that the likely scenario in September is that across Victoria for the whole month of September, you are going to experience about the same amount of rainfall as like Eastern Victoria did in a single week. So I hope that's making sense. So across the month of September, it's likely you will receive about the same amount of rainfall as you did last week. That's what we're seeing from the models. Okay. If you are here in southern WA, you're going to get about 25 to 50 mils, which is less than what you got, or less than what you got last week. So a little bit more than last week across the whole month, but only a little bit more. If I go into the 1 month, okay, we can see that the rainfall that you got across July, which I know is a bit far away now, so all of the July rainfall, which is 25 to 50 mils here in New South Wales, for example, you are only going to be getting for the month of September 1 to 10 mils. So I hope that's contextualizing what we're actually looking at here. And now that we have that in mind, obviously we don't expect, when we're looking at means, July, which is a winter month, compared to September, which is the start of spring. Obviously, they should be a little bit different, but that gives us a contextual understanding where we're coming from. Now, if we look at the chance above the median rainfall of September, we can kind of start to think or see what we mean by it being so low. So we have, the models are showing us less rainfall on the way than you would typically see in the month of September. So I'm hoping that helps you understand or contextually put what the month of September's rainfall will look like, and really starting to think about the impacts of El Nino. Speaking of El Nino, we will have a very quick look. This is the sea surface temperature anomaly, and you can see it is getting ridiculously hot in the Pacific. And if we look at the end, so the axes almost aren't capturing here what the models are predicting for it now. But that's really not a different story than what we've seen. You guys know that now. We've got a very intense El Nino coming on the way. The southern annular mode is dipping here for strong fronts. This is largely sort of just picking up that cutoff low that's coming across this week in Australia, which is basically just making the SAM calculation think that the storm track is sitting higher when it's just this sort of system moving through. But we are firmly in the sort of neutral phase of the southern annular mode, which is why we're starting to get a few more of those rainy systems moving through, which we were definitely missing at the start of winter. And then the Madden-Julian oscillation, if you're up in the tropical regions, is really sort of firmly within this central box, which means we're not getting any strong phases of the MJO starting to impact any of the rainfall outlook up ahead. Okay, so that's what we're seeing. I can show you the temperature outlooks, but they're like, there's just no point of looking at temperature outlooks really in the way that these are visualized. We have a high likelihood of exceeding the maximum median temperature in September from 1981 to 2018, because we always do now. Like, this is just a climate change signal. We're not really getting, this doesn't really show us a good impact of what El Nino might do to the temperature in spring. So yeah, that's just not a great visualization. But in case you were wondering, there it is. And even for the max temperature anomaly, which maybe is a little bit clearer, I suppose you can start to see the El Nino signal here a little bit in the east and here in the west. And then this slight negative anomaly could be just with some more cloud associated coming through. Okay, that's the long range forecast. That's our outlook for the week for the nation. Any questions, let us know below, but please be safe as that low moves through. It's got a lot of rain, wind, and thunderstorm activity associated with it. So yeah, definitely be safe. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.